Dave, I've got a bit of an embarrassing story, kind of a strange story for you. All right.
Is this a double album?
Well, it's kind of convoluted, so stick with me on this. All right.
So when I do a convoluted story, can I do what you do, the hand gesture, like the wrap it up?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
The under the neck thing.
Right. You're pulling the curtain away from people to see what happens here. I recently finished a novel, right? And
reading it or writing it?
Writing it.
Okay.
It's the first draft of my latest novel. It's a Cold War thriller set in 1976. Okay, and it's told through the eyes of an army brat stationed in West Germany, which is
of course.
What I was.
Sure.
Right? Yeah. Anyway, I don't have a title for the book yet, and you have to have a good title. You have to have a good title. So every time I come up with one, I do some searching on it. And someone else has got it. So I have
Great Expectations that's taken.
Did you know that somebody else called this book Moby Dick? But anyway, last night I've been trying whatever I can to inspire myself to come up with ways to come up with a title. So last night I went out to the garage, I grabbed a cigar, I sat out my Lazy Boy, which I have in the garage.
And Lazy Boy will be available on...
And I played a list of songs from 1976. I thought maybe, the songs are playing.
The seed of creativity.
You never know.
Right,
I was hoping it would spark me or inspire me in some way. Well, when I have a cigar, I open the garage door. Okay. All right, so imagine it.
And we'll be back right after that.
Imagine this, though. Okay. All right, the sheer white trashiness of this site. An aging man having a cigar in the middle of winter in a Lazy Boy
in the garage,
in an open garage facing the street. Now add disco lights, because my boys put disco lights in the garage.
There's a lava lamp there too.
It's all sorts of...
It's Greg Brady's bedroom.
It is very much like that. So I'm listening to the music, and I fell asleep in the chair.
Okay.
All right. As I mentioned, surrounded by disco lights with an open garage facing the door, or facing the street. And then my neighbor comes over and looks over at me. And while he's looking at me, the song Play That Funky Music White Boy is playing with the disco lights. The old man in the winter. And he goes,
back in Studio 54, me and Bianca Jagger got it on.
He goes, hey, Rick, what's going on? And I thought to myself, I could explain this whole thing that I just explained to you.
Right.
But,
there's no actually, right.
There's just no way. So I told him I'm trying to recreate 1976.
Yeah.
And he said, can't help you. I wasn't even born yet.
Oh, yeah. Right. Right. But I'm going to visit my grandchild now, right?
Yeah. But anyway, I was embarrassed. I was blushing. I was that embarrassed.
Well, I, teaching the youngins at the university that I do, there's been a couple instances that grandparents of the kids that I'm teaching are younger than I am.
Oh, my God. All right. Minutia Man is up next.
The following is a Tony Lasano podcast, an Opie production on the Radio Misfits Podcast Network. This is Minutia Man with Rick and Dave.
So, have you come up with a title yet?
No, I haven't.
So, Play That Funky White Boy. That's not going to...
Well, no, it would make no sense. It's a Cold War thriller.
What
and by the way, suddenly a Cold War thriller is very timely.
Yeah, apropos.
When I wrote it, it wasn't, but now it will be.
What other 1976 songs could you use to...
Hey, if people have ideas,
absolutely.
send it in, because I'm looking for a good title.
We got a great show today, and speaking of getting our listeners involved,
yes,
right? We are going to tell a story. We're going to start involving contributions from our listeners.
Yeah.
So later on in the show, certainly.
That's right.
There. I got something. You want to get right into it? I mean,
sure.
I'm a pretty busy guy here.
Chop.
That men's medical journal that we were going to start that just was completely fake and cited bogus.
Yeah, you wanted to create a website that cites fake studies saying that things like
ambition causes cancer.
Right. Right, exactly. Small penises mean that somebody is very, very smart.
right. Watching porn prevents osteoporosis or something like that.
Exactly,
right?
Yeah.
Well, I think we might be about 65 years too late. I will explain that a little later. Okay. But this story comes out of our health desk.
Okay.
Washing dishes lowers heart disease risks in older women.
Okay.
The Journal of the American Heart Association published a study from the University of California, San Diego on Tuesday The study measured the physical activity of over 5,400 middle-aged women.
Mm-hmm.
They found that women who performed routine activities like housework and cooking and gardening saw a reduced risk of heart disease.
God bless them.
The study also found out that women between the ages of 50 and 58, how old is Bridget?
It's right in there.
Yeah, so is Michelle. Have a reduced chance of cardiovascular disease if they vacuum 2 to 3 days a week. And I'm not just talking about the crappy vacuuming, okay?
Upstairs, downstairs, the whole house.
Do I see a spider web there? Sweetie, I'm doing this for your health, okay? But similar studies have shown that men do not, and I repeat, not significantly lower their incidence of cardiovascular disease by doing similar activities.
I'm guessing there's a small sample size.
Right. Well, in fact, and this is where our website comes in. In fact, a 1957 study, okay, arguably it was 65 years ago, and we were in a different time in 1957. A study by something called the Male Medical Advisory Board Initiative out of Stanford, Connecticut, found a bunch of things.
Yeah.
Right?
All right.
Here's one of them. And this is all true.
Yeah. Okay. Absolutely.
They found that added pressures of housework on men might cause profound stress resulting in harmful diseases. And I love the phrase, aren't all diseases harmful?
Instead of the good disease.
Right. But here are some of the other things that were found in this 1957 study. Okay. Men can experience severe hearing loss from exposure to crying children and infants.
Oh my God, where was this study when I needed it?
In fact, male vestibule ducts are usually 1.5 times longer than the females and are more sensitive to higher decibel noises.
Okay. I'll buy that.
That's not all. Men who refrain from regularly flirting with members of the opposite sex.
Who refrain from it.
Can experience a backup of adrenal fluid, which will cause distress on the celiac ganglia.
Honey, it says it right here. I'm only doing it for my health.
I'm citing a study.
Do you want me to live longer or not?
Attention from women releases oxytocin. Not oxytocin, oxytocin, which lessens the strain on the parasympathetic nervous system. I Googled oxytocin.
Yeah.
I can't find anything.
Okay, so this is...
Well, yeah. And finally, and this is pretty much my favorite one, too much talking can cause esophageal cancer in men ages 38 to 75. Men should limit speaking, especially during evening hours when their upper thoracic is most vulnerable. So evidently, there was a Rick and Dave in 1957 that said, you know what?
You know, what was your dad doing in 1957? My dad was around.
Yeah, right.
You know, maybe it was Eckhart and Fritz.
They were board members of the Medical Advisory Board Initiative.
Wow. You know what raises heart attack risk in older women?
No, what?
Husbands.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that is a very good study.
1957. I'm sure I didn't see this. There's some smoking thing and red meat thing, probably. That, but
well, thank you for that. That's great. This is kind of a hard time for the world with the war going on.
I thought you were talking about MLB.
There's the thing in Ukraine. I think might even be worse.
A little bit.
Yeah. And not to joke about it, but you and I, we're not really equipped to handle serious conversations. No. So let's not have a serious conversation. Okay. The thing that I saw that really has stuck with me is every man in Ukraine between 18 and 60.
60. I know.
60.
I know.
That would include us. Has to stay behind and fight.
Yeah.
Well, there's got to be a Rick and Dave in Ukraine. Yeah, right? I mean...
How do you say Minutia, man, in Ukraine?
I mean, I've never fired a gun. Have you ever fired a gun?
I've never, a BB gun once.
I have just baby soft hands.
I know.
You were Femme of the Year.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just no chance that we would be good. But let's take some inspiration from the Ukrainian Rick and Daves out there, because there's still stuff you can do to help out. A Ukrainian company that supplies parts for electric vehicle charging stations in Russia has been accused of using their access in order to display messages such as Slava Ukraini, which is glory to Ukraine, and Putin is a dickhead.
This comes up on the displays of
on the charging stations.
Okay.
Right. This is a true story.
In Russia.
Yeah. Charging stations installed on the M11 route, which were purchased in 2020, according to the results of an open purchase procedure, which is what the energy company says now. The manufacturer left a bookmark in the controller, which gave them opportunity to have, back access to change things, right?
Back door, basically.
Right, back door. And so now if you go across Russia and you go to a charging station, you'll see things that say like, glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes, Putin is a dickhead, death to the enemy. Which I think that's something that you and I could do.
Right, we could do that. That actually reminds me of a bit of a story. So when I was at, I'm not going to say, when I was at Case Paper.
Yeah.
This is back in...
Statute of limitations has run out.
Yeah, what are they going to do?
Yeah.
Oh, God, I bet early 90s, right? I mean, I don't know. 91 or 92. We got one of these fancy phone systems.
Okay.
That when you got a call from somebody within the office, their name would come up.
Okay.
Dave's calling.
Right. Yeah.
Paul Only's calling, whatever. Right. And of course, the wacky operations managers would put nicknames on there. I'm not even. I think there was some anti-Semitic one for me, but that was fine. I mean, we were in simpler times. We were.
In those days, it was perfectly fine.
It was totally fine.
Right.
But it would be whatever, and he would just do it for like a minute or two, right, or three, and then switch it back. But he didn't switch it back, and I'm not going to tell you what the boss's one was, but it was something. I think Lucifer had something to do with it, right? And for just like it was. He would just do it kind of. Go ahead.
Oh my God!
Go ahead to see what it looks like, and he forgot. And
did he get in big trouble?
I don't know. I mean, it was a little. It was a little laughy,
right? It's like obviously I'm joking,
right? Exactly. I was just playing around with how to, but I remember that.
Now this is the same company that I used to call and leave you messages, right?
Yeah. Right.
So I don't know if we told the story on this show before, probably, but I'll tell it again.
Sure.
When Dave worked at Case Paper, I would call him up and leave him messages, and the receptionist, and there used to be these these things called receptionists that would write notes, and put it in your mailbox or whatever.
Well, they'd be the little pink.
Yeah, the little pink out called while you were out.
Yeah.
And she'd say, well, what's your name? And I'd say, Rick Kempfer. She goes, well, how do you spell that? Right. And I'd say, XZDFQD749.
Right. And asterisks.
Yeah. Right. And she would hand you the note saying that.
Right. Like, smiley face, carrot, RJ,
eggplant.
Yeah, exactly. What they would be like, okay, she was a nice lady.
Yes, I'm sure she was, but she wasn't very bright.
And she is now a congresswoman in Georgia.
Right, okay. Do we have any reviews of the show?
We sure do. This is from Irina Bolstoy, actually.
Ooh, that sounds Russian.
It does. On Apple Podcasts from the UK. Need news you can use to become a better person? ? Don't listen to this show. Need to laugh and be entertained for 40 minutes? Subscribe. They get big name celebrities and their interviews are hilarious.
Oh, that's
very nice.
That's very nice.
And impeccably, no grammar mistakes in this one. No typos either.
Well, that's good because you're very rough on people. If you like Minutia Men or Minutia Men Celebrity Interview, which it sounds like she was also referring to, be sure to check out some of the other programs on the Radio Misfits Podcast Network. You can pick out your favorite new show at opishows.com. And remember that Opie is hippo backwards, which is OPPIH shows.com. All right, Dave, it's time for another feature. Do you remember what we call this one?
That'd be Studio Wall.
That is correct.
Time now for Studio Walls.
And the words of the prophets were written on the studio walls. Rick and Dave.
So this is the part of the show where we reach into the 40-year Rick and Dave archives, and I sent Dave a list of what has happened in our lives during this week in history, and let Dave pick which one we're going to play. All right? And these are the ones that Dave said no to, and there were some good ones this week. Was it a hard choice?
This was a hard week to go.
Okay.
I had to put in 3 minutes.
Did you?
Yeah, I think I had it probably took 2 or 3 minutes to do.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, don't say that Dave doesn't work on the show. February 28th, 2008, I was on the radio with John Landecker and Turi Ryder discussing my brand new venture, Just One Bad Century. I've got audio. Pretty funny interview. Dave said no. March 1st, Harry Carey's birthday. I wrote a tribute to Harry when he passed away called Hats Off to Harry, which appeared on Landecker and the Legends Volume 5. Could have played that song for you. It's a touching song. Dave said no. Yeah. March 1st, 1996, Buckingham's lead singer Carl Giammarisi appeared on the Landecker show, and I handed him a parody of one of his songs written about the Girl Scouts, and he performed it live on the spot just by me handing him.
So it was Girl Scouts because you were selling Girl Scout cookies.
We were selling Girl Scout cookies, yeah. Okay. And we had Carl on. He told the whole story, but we also have the tape of that song. Dave said no to both of those things, right? This is the one that surprised me. March 1st, Roger Daltrey's birthday. We interviewed the keyboardist from The Who, Lauren Gold. He had some great stories about Roger and not being able to understand him. And
wasn't that the one where, like, Roger talked to him for like 45 seconds and then he goes, "You didn't know anything when I touched that." Right?
Yeah. Dave said no.
Yeah.
He said no to that. And he loves The Who.
Yeah. We'll get to it again.
March 2nd, Lou Reed's birthday. And we had Mick Rock on, who was one of his running buddies back in the day. Right. And he told us an unbelievably great story about Lou Reed that you're not going to hear.
No.
Because Dave said no. Bill Curtis has been on this show. And his biggest story of his entire career that he told us about was broken on this week in 1978. He broke the story about Agent Orange in Vietnam. Told us how that whole thing came to be. Excellent story. Yeah. Dave said no.
The war thing, you know what?
Maybe. Okay, maybe that was the right call on that. March 4th, World Grammar Day. Yeah, we had the ultimate grammar man, Jim Bauman, on. Yep. Dave said no. It's also the birthday of Chicago, the city. And we had Robert Lorzell on, who's like a great historian about Chicago. He had all sorts of great stories about the history of Chicago. Dave said no.
How many times can you talk about the fire?
March 4th, also Tim Weigel's birthday, a good buddy of ours. And we have audio of Tim giving blessing to our great advertising agency, Amish Chicago Advertising. Dave said no. But here's what he said yes to. February 27th would have been Howard Hesseman's birthday, who just recently passed away. Dr. Johnny Fever passed away just a few weeks ago. And we had Tommy Chong on the show a few years ago, and he told us a story about his feud with Howard Hesseman. And we were going to play it right after he died. Yeah. But Dave, what did you say?
I said it's too soon. Right?
Yeah.
And then now it's 21 days, right? Basically, tragedy plus time is a bad yeast infection as far as I'm concerned. Okay. After about 21 days, the antibiotics goes through. And tragedy, it's now enough time to...
All right, here's the story behind the dispute of Tommy Chong and Howard Hesseman.
There's like we copied the committee in the Second City.
Right.
Early guys, like Peter Boyle. I saw Peter Boyle work live in Second City, and we copied a lot of people. And so we had a lot of improvisational actors really hate us. Like Howard Hesseman. Howard Hesseman hated
from WKRP.
Yeah, WKRP. So one session in the 70s show, they had Howard Hesseman doing his radio bit on this show, and I was laughing to myself because I know how much Howard Hesseman, he gets pissed off at anything. When he was in the committee, he would get on stage after to give out announcements of where all the protests were going to be had. Very hippy-dippy guy. And he'd have these bright red shoes on. And he would say, "Okay, any questions?" And inevitably someone would say, "Hey, where'd you get the shoes, man?" and instead of being a joke with it, it would piss him off. He'd get mad. And he's a redhead. And you could see his face get all flushed. So when he heard that Cheech and two guys come up, took their best bits, and became international icons. And now he has to get on stage. And after we did the bit, they used to bring everybody out for a bow, and then they would bring me out last because a big crowd favorite. And so I was thinking, oh, I can't wait for Hesseman to have to hold my hand and take a bow. And he left before the bow.
Wow. That's a grudge right there. That's like a 40-year grudge.
He didn't talk. He did nothing. He just got his stuff and he got the hell out of there. Oh.
Now, when you hear Tommy Chong, and first of all, I love Tommy Chong, but he's totally stoned in this conversation. You could hear he's giggling like he's stoned right there.
He's been stoned since 65, right?
He is a high functioning stoner, though. Because his output's amazing. Although it's a lot easier when you don't come up with the bits yourself and you just steal them.
Right? The thing that was one of those. We talked to him during COVID, didn't we?
Yeah.
That was one of those A-list celebrities that we couldn't get off the phone.
Yes.
Do you remember?
It was 47 minutes long.
Okay, Tommy, hey, we got to let you go out.
But it was great.
Oh, it was great.
It's great. And if you're looking for it, it's on Minutia Celebrity Interview. It looks like it is episode number 39. Episode number 39 for those of you who would like to check it out. We still have a lot more show.
Yeah. Loud sex. I'm going to do something about loud sex.
Oh, I'm going to do something about a museum in Iceland. Oh, it's very highbrow. Yeah,
I'm sure it is.
Very highbrow. Yeah. And we will debut our new thing where people send in their celebrity stories and they get a chance to tell us celebrity stories. And I love this first one. It's a good one. But all that is still coming up right after this. All right, Adam, what country are you from?
I am from England.
What is the best soccer league in the entire world?
The English Premier League.
What is your day job?
Director of coaching for Illinois Youth Soccer.
So if you were, say, a fan of English Premier League and you wanted to hear the opinions of someone who is from England, who knows a lot of soccer, what podcast would you tell people they need to listen to?
Free Kicks with Adam and Rick.
And that's on the Radio Misfits Podcast Network.
Free Kicks, a Tony Lasano podcast, an Opie show on the Radio Misfits Podcast Network. Great talk radio isn't dead. It just moved to a better place. RadioMisfits.com.
And we're back.
So this comes out of New York. The Gotham.
Yeah.
The Big Apple. And evidently the city that really doesn't sleep, Rick.
Yeah.
Complaints of New Yorkers' noisy sex are rising at an alarming rate.
Really?
Your urban dwellers tolerate the screeching subways, hey, I'm walking here. Noisy bars, but late night sounds of coital revelry are the breaking point, evidently. A wave of sex mayhem has apparently been sweeping New York City, prompting residents to lodge an increasing number of noise complaints to a government helpline.
This is a real story.
New York is no stranger to noise complaints. New Yorkers file as many as 75,000 a month of regular noise complaints. Yeah. But the new 311 data that has been obtained by Patch has revealed that many recent complaints arise from those disturbed by their neighbors late night boom chakalaka.
Uh-huh.
From February 19th, 2021 to the 9th of February of this year, the website reported the official helpline received 277 complaints about noisy sex. Queens produced the most with 103.
Okay.
Manhattan came in second with 66, while Brooklyn produced 55, the Bronx 48, and Staten Island 4. Hey, Staten Island, you're not trying, buddy.
Come on.
But here I got a sampling of some of the complaints. You want to hear?
Yeah.
In Cross Bay Boulevard in Queens, 56 complaints were logged about hippies allegedly dressing up as Freddy Krueger, Pennywise, and the Easter Bunny while engaging in Boom Chakalaka as the theme song of Velveteen Dream, a pro wrestler, blasted in the background. You know
that is a very specific one. Wow.
On December 23rd at 11 p.m., a resident in East Harlem in Manhattan said, remember, December 23rd, some guy is singing Jingle Balls at the top of his voice. Another person is screaming, "Yes, Daddy, come down my chimney." Yes. but here is my favorite one, okay? Yeah. A Corona, Queens resident filed a complaint on his neighbors who were having Klingon sex.
Oh, for God's sake.
So, Klingon sex.
Oh,
Okay?
boy.
So I took the liberty, Rick, of downloading the app, the text-to-speech Klingon app.
Okay.
Okay, so what I think would be fun is you tell me some sexy phrases, and I will...
How about the one that you just said, the chimney one?
Okay, hold on here.
Do you have to type it in, or can you
I do
say?
have to type it in. Hold on.
Oh, do the shorter one then. Jingle balls.
Well, I was going to do, how about, I've got your tricorder right here.
Okay, that's good.
Hold on. I got your tricorder.
Okay.
All right,
Oh,
ready?
he's doing this with one hand. That's very impressive.
Ready?
Yep.
That's Klingon.
Wow.
Right. How about...
Doesn't really get me revved.
Okay, how about... You're making my engines buckle.
Okay.
Hold on.
My engines are buckling, Captain.
Yeah, hold on.
All
There
right.
you go. Maybe this will be better here. Hold on.
This is, by the way, I've never seen you more dexterous.
Can you imagine hearing that while during sex? Okay, it sounds like...
It does actually kind of sound like that. You know, in the suburbs, we don't get a lot of loud sex complaints.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're all in homes, single family, and any loud sex complaints really don't go to the police department. You just get ew from the teenagers that are living in your house. All right. Well, I have a story that is not quite as exciting as this, but...
Did you have an app that you downloaded?
I have no. I did not go the extra mile for you. We own a publishing company called Eckhart's Press, and a couple of years ago, we published a book by a comedian named Lauren
Logiducci.
Yes, thank you. Who is a Melania Trump.
Actually, she's a Melanie Trump. It's her second cousin. Honestly, not a lot of people got it.
Anyway, she's a Melania Trump impersonator. Her book was called Inside Melania, still available. We had her on the show. She did the whole Melania bit for us.
COVID really screwed her.
I know.
She had 170 shows planned.
I know. Yeah.
And after January 6th, Trump's not that funny anymore.
No,
right.
No. Yeah. And since the Trumps rode off into the sunset, Lauren has created put in a new podcast. She's on Radio Misfits. Actually, it's called Reconcile the Aisle. She's also a full-fledged TikTok star. She really is. She's got tons and tons of followers. You can check her out at Lauren Logie. And I follow her. And this week, she gave a TikTok review from Reykjavik, Iceland. You know where she was?
No.
She was in the Icelandic Phallicological Museum.
Oh.
Which, you know what that means?
I think there's something to do with
Penises in the news.
Rick and Dave.
There's a whole museum about it. A whole museum about penises in Reykjavik, Iceland. You won't want to miss it. There are actual samples of various different animal penises, which she showed us on the video. There's I'm actually predicting a run of women chasing after whales based on what I saw.
Okay.
Because you know what I'm saying about the whales. But my favorite
So what
thing,
was the book that we talked about earlier in the show? Moby.
Oh, yeah.
It all comes around, doesn't it?
We call that a callback. We call that a callback.
The writing, there's so many levels here.
I know. But the most interesting thing that I saw, and this really is weird, a trophy case full of penises from soccer players from the same team. All right. All of their penises plaster casted.
Okay.
Yeah. Like Cynthia the plaster caster used to do, the rock and roll groupie. They did this for an entire soccer team, and they have the pictures of the team.
Okay.
And then they've got a glass case with the replicas of their fully engorged penises, and then you mix and match.
Oh, so it's like
I think this one is number 7.
Right, okay.
This is,
Sure. It's it's like it's not a wordy. It'd be a.
Well, it's it's a quiz. Yeah. It's a penis quiz. Sure. And if you want to know what the overall view of Lauren was about this museum, she said in a 3-word review, she said, "Too many dicks," which I think is probably absolutely appropriate. All right, it's time for a final feature. We call this
A random name pulled out of Rick's bowl of brushes with celebrities.
Mixture, collection, selection, assemblage, medley, assortment, variety.
Time now for Celebrity Potpourri
with Rick and Dave.
So last week, a man or woman named Tegan, I'm still not sure if it's a man or woman, sent us an email saying, why don't you have listeners send in their brushes with greatness stories?
That's a phenomenal idea.
And so we brought that up last week, and we got 3 really good ones. We got one about Phil Donahue.
I have a Phil. Do you want to hear about the Phil Donahue story I have?
Sure.
So I went to Lane Tech.
Well, you want to save it for the day that we do the Phil Donahue story?
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's another one about Bronco Nagurski.
Okay, former football player.
That one is so good. I've been trying to get this guy on to come and tell it live. So I'm saving it I want him to tell the story. His name's Michael. That's a really good one. This one is from Sylvia. My mom's older brother was a high school classmate of Harvey Korman at Senn High School in Chicago.
Oh, okay.
In the early 70s, Mom took us out to Hollywood on vacation. She asked her brother to write Harvey a note asking for tickets to a taping of the Carol Burnett Show. Harvey came through. I was pretty young, maybe 12 years old, so I don't remember all the details, but I remember that Carol did her famous Tarzan yell in the Q&A section, and that Lyle Wagner was just as gorgeous as I thought he would be. We only met Harvey for a few seconds after the show, and he still had his makeup on, but he was very nice to us and told Mom to say hello to her brother for him, even though I believe that he didn't remember him at all. But that is
very nice.
Very nice.
I don't think I knew that Harvey Korman was from Chicago.
I didn't know that either. But here's what it sent me down a Harvey Korman
rabbit hole.
And here's my favorite Harvey Korman moment of all time. Okay. Here we go.
But she said army. Of course. An army of the worst dregs ever to soil the face of the West. Taggart.
Yes, sir?
I've decided to launch an attack that will reduce Rock Ridge to ashes.
What do you want me to do, sir?
I want you to round up every vicious criminal and gunslinger in the West. Take this down. I want rustlers, cutthroats, murderers, bounty hunters, desperados, mugs, pugs, thugs, nitwits, halfwits, dimwits, vipers, snipers, con men, Indian agents, Mexican bandits, muggers, buggerers, bushwhackers, hornswagglers, horse thieves, bull dykes, train robbers, bank robbers, ass kickers, shit kickers, and Methodists.
Could you repeat that, sir?
Blazing Saddles.
Yeah, that was great.
Classic Harvey Korman. And we never knew he was a fellow Chicagoan. We talked earlier about the Minutia Man celebrity interview. There's a new one out now featuring Fizza Dosani.
Right.
Who's a
very funny lady. Very funny lady. She talks about her celebrity encounter with John Holmes.
Ron Jeremy.
Ron Jeremy.
And she'll even tell you what he smells like. Which is a super duper bonus. Go check it out. It's out there right now. Minutia Men Celebrity Interview. If you'd like to contribute to our new feature, or you just want to talk to us in any way, you can comment on our Minutia Men Instagram page, which is Minutia Men Official, and just please follow that page. We want to at least get up into the triple digits, so we're not too embarrassed.
And we fixed the typo. It's not official anymore. Right. It's official.
That's right. You can also check us out on Twitter at Minutia Men, or you can email us at minutiamenpodcast@gmail.com, or you can check out our publishing company at cartspress.com.
And Rick's blog.
And my blog, and that's where most of these emails are coming in from, which I wasn't expecting. You can follow along 40 Years of Rick and Dave. Go to rickkemfer.blogspot.com. Special thanks to our executive producer, Tony Lasano, opishows.com.
He needs a haircut.
He is getting
Have
you
seen? Yeah,
he's a hippie.
Yeah, he needs a haircut.
Opie is hippo backwards. OPPIHshows.com. We're distributed by Ed Silla with Radio Misfits. Great Talk Radio isn't dead. It just moved to a better place. RadioMisfits.com. And we'll be back again next week with a brand new episode.
Minutia Man.
The preceding was a presentation of Opie Productions. Find our other great shows wherever you find podcasts, including opishows.com. Thank you.
This has been a presentation of Opie Productions.
Tony, can you shut up?